Hello and welcome to another episode of SoFly. It's this November 28th, almost December. Back in the studio, my name is Mitch. We've got Aldo.
Hello.
We've got Yilma.
Hey, everybody.
And we've got a guest that we had on episode 7 3 years ago. We've got Chris from Drift. Chris, how's it going?
Pretty good. Good to be back. You guys?
It's great to have you back. And with better mics and in a quieter room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and with better fishing minds.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe a little older, a little wiser. I wasn't on the show,
No.
and now I'm on the
that's
show.
true.
Yilma's caught a lot of different fish.
Yeah, I wasn't catching fish when we first met.
I fished saltwater. Never fished saltwater.
Yeah.
Done that now.
Yeah.
And you've done all kinds of things over those 3 years, especially at Drift. And I mean, your fishing life is. Well, we're going to get all into that 100%. We want to talk about kind of like how your fly tying has evolved over the 3 years, and we want to talk about fly design and your approach to fly tying again. But just touch on the things that we didn't in episode 7, because we love talking about fly tying, and we've only done it a couple times on the show.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah, kind of like how, things have changed in those 3 years. Have they changed? And why have they changed?
Yeah, especially in the world of fly tying itself. Just like materials and what are the popular materials right now? Like what? Because it seems like fly fishing is always evolving and changing.
Mm-hmm.
Trends kind of come and go. People
I think
glass.
it is and it's not, right? Like
Yeah.
there's always new stuff being popularized, but whether or not they're original ideas is always debatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
So,
yeah,
I
definitely
mean,
fads and phases.
That's an interesting thing to talk about right there. But first, Yilma, what are we drinking?
We are drinking 40 Creek. I keep forgetting this.
Copper pot still, baby.
Jesus Christ. I love it. Copper Pot Still from 40 Creek. It is delicious.
It's definitely whiskey weather. I've said it before, but it's winter now, so
It
it
is.
just warms you up.
Yeah.
It's deep into whiskey weather.
Yeah.
But the funny thing with 40 Creek, I love drinking in the winter, and I love drinking in the summer.
Yeah, man, me too.
So-
But especially during the holidays, it just feels like, you know what? I want cocktails, and I want my 40 Creek, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it might be November 28th now, but this is coming out in a couple of days, and December 1st, and
Yeah.
December 1st, starting to think about Christmas.
That's the holidays, man. Like
Yeah.
we're in.
Fishmas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're into the holidays at that point, and it's
Yeah.
like, head down to Drift, pick up some nice little holiday presents,
Mhm.
or tell your loved ones to do so for you, because it's all you
Actually,
wanna see
on the
under tree,
note of all those things,
Mm.
we just did with Chris an awesome Flies and Flights at Left Field Brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're tying Christmas ornaments.
Yeah, that's right. That was cool.
Yeah, it's
I
good
love the
times.
ornaments. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were the flies you guys were tying?
We just did one that night because it was that kind of two-step process there with the bulb, but it was like flies called a Pompier.
Okay.
Or sorry, no, it wasn't a Pompier. It was a Renew Special,
Okay.
Atlantic salmon pattern. And we just sort of a dumbed down version of that, so we could get through it in time, and then just pop them into these glass bulbs, so you could hang them in there and then throw them on your tree. It was fun.
It was super
times.
cool. Yeah, it was a great fly, and there was a lot of like good tires there, even first tires.
Oh yeah, it was great. We had some really experienced guys, and ended up being like a big couples event too. So
Yeah.
had a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces show up, and it was great fun.
Nice.
The Left
And
Field
great
Nights,
venue.
it's an awesome venue, like
perfect for it.
I'm not a huge craft beer guy, but I like craft beer. But like Left Field beer, I love Left Field beer. That I was having a Make It Spring Kolsch.
Oh, nice.
It was so good. Like it was really tasty.
Nice.
Really tasty beer. Definitely like when we say crushable, it was a crushable beer. But the Left Field Nights, though, just to touch on it, are super fun. Like honestly, like we've been doing it for a while now. Like Drift's
That
been-
was, I think, number 6 that we've done, and we've
Nice.
sold out every single one. And like with weeks to spare, it's always been a really, really
That's
popular
awesome.
event.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing, and
It's
Aldo
such a
said
nice
it when we went
setting.
in.
Oh, it's great.
It's that you see people there that you've never seen before, and it's like from all walks of life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, whoa, people do really want to tie flies. Everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a cool thing to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily fish either, which is cool.
No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just like the
the
makerness, the craftiness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the girl that you interviewed, or the lady that you interviewed in the footage, like she doesn't fly fish.
She dabbles in fishing, but definitely doesn't tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her first fly.
Chris, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of Christmas,
That's the whole
I
point.
think that's
That's the whole point of this whole thing.
You can ask him a couple.
You can ask. Like we got like an hour here.
Yeah.
Drift. You guys were showcasing a reel. Okay, I didn't read up on it too much, but it looked pretty interesting.
What?
What's up with that? Yeah, it's like
Showcasing real.
What are you talking about? Like on their Instagram?
Yeah, on their Instagram.
Was an
recently,
Islander reel for
oh,
the Islander
on
reels?
sale or
Oh, we
something?
had a promotion on Islanders at
Okay.
Islander was hosting this weekend. But new reels. There's some new Ables coming out. We're excited about them.
Ooh.
Some new Sage reels that have come out fairly recently.
Ooh. I like my Sage reel.
I love
Yeah.
my Sage reel.
Yeah.
I love my Reddington.
They're great.
Yeah.
We sell
Sage's
more
sick.
Sage and Redington reels than anything else by far in the shop. Like everything's awesome, but they just hit like a price and quality
Yeah.
mark that's
Man,
tough to
Sage
beat
reels.
sometimes.
I love my Sage reel so much.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. I probably pick up another one because I have actually switched my lines between the two. Like, well, because we did redfish, I was like put my line on that, and then steelhead season comes around, and I have like this other reel. I'm like, I want to use my Sage, so I like switch the line over, and then I'm like, oh, I got to put that on for pike, and then it's like I
Just
just
get a
gotta
new
get
spool,
another one.
baby.
Yeah, or a new
Mhm.
spool, exactly. Yeah,
Or get a Hardy like the one that Aldo has that I still haven't given back to him.
yeah, that's
Nah.
cool.
I'll take the Sage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
take
I like the Sage a lot. So yeah, the shop. Yeah, I mean, check the shop out. There's lots of cool gear. But the left field night is a good way to kind of segue into the world of fly tying because
Mhm.
a lot of new people there. What are some of the things you see people like? What first of all, why do you think people want to tie flies, and why do they come to the night to tie flies? What do they do it for?
Yeah, as I say, we have an interesting mix there of our own customers, but also of left field clientele who see the ads and just want to try it out. Yeah, I think part of it is just people wanting to get out and do something completely, out of left field. They wouldn't otherwise do.
Whoa, sick!
Good
Yeah.
one.
One more time.
That was so good.
Yeah, you got it. You got the soundbite. You can loop it.
Yeah.
So I think for their clientele, it's probably the biggest draw is just to get out and do something that wouldn't usually. For our own customer base, I think anyone who's been fly fishing for a while, it's sort of a natural progression. You see most fly anglers, definitely not all. There's a large percentage that don't ever get into tying, but it is sort of a natural progression as you get further into the sport. And I think this is just a really relaxed, easy way, low pressure way to get into it.
What is it about fly tying that, like, if you're not an angler, why do people like think it's cool? I mean, a lot of people saw we say this all the time. It's like a river runs through it, and they're like, "Wow, that's so amazing! I want to fly fish." What is it about fly fishing or fly tying that makes people? What do you think makes people want to try it?
Honestly, I am not entirely sure myself. For myself, it was when I got into a very young age. It was just kind of that foreign, almost kind of mystical, realm of fishing. That, isn't talked about a ton.
Yeah.
Maybe more recently, but certainly when I was getting into it, lesser so. It's just cool and different and very hands-on, which I think people appreciate a lot these days.
Therapeutic too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You can really get into it and just drop all other thoughts. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Zone out a bit, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, it just like looks pretty. It looks interesting. It doesn't look like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. It's an interesting creative thing in a
Like-
way because
like-
it's so different from everything else.
You can kind of like, that was kind of weird, but you look at a table and you can kind of imagine how it's constructed. You look at a fly, you're like, well, how did that get made?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you see it and you're like, that's how?
Mhm.
yeah, and
And you're
it's
like,
true.
well, that looks like I can do it. And actually looks kind of fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I remember when I started tying flies, it was that kind of thing. I was like, how the hell do you do that? And I read, it was like, you use thread and like a hook and stuff. I was like, oh, so I got some sewing thread. I talked about this on episode 7 when we did this. I was like, I got some sewing thread from like my mom's like sewing table, and I like tied it onto a jig with like some like blanket material. Like literally cut some like threads off a blanket. And I made this insane jig with like this crazy like bucktail jig with like thread from a blanket. I was like, this cannot be right.
Where is it?
I think I still have it actually. It's like in a fishing box somewhere, but I was like, yeah, this is definitely wrong. So I got a book, and I was like, yeah, that was wrong. And I figured out the way to do it.
Chris, do you keep your old crappy flies that you tied? I mean, the ones that didn't work, or the ones that you weren't happy with, the funny ones.
Not
Kinda like
really. I don't tend to get too attached to stuff like that, so no, they end up staying in the trash bin more often than not. My first one, I still have. It's on my desk, just as
Your first
a
fly?
reminder. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
what is it?
Nice.
Yeah, I can bring in actually if you guys ever want to see it.
I do.
It's
What?
not a thing. It's
What
it's
is
a
it?
thing, but it's not a thing.
What is
Chris,
it? Oh, it's
what
like
is
on
it?
a pattern.
So I think I explained. Yeah, exactly. I think I explained maybe briefly in the past episode what my first was. But I was, went down to my basement one day and I started fly tying before I started fly fishing. So I had no concept of what any of this stuff was or what I was trying to achieve. But I found some just like utility wire they had used to like wrap garden
Yeah.
equipment up with whatever. and I bent it into a shape of a hook.
Oh, whoa! So
like,
you made a hook. You made the hook.
Yeah, I mean
too.
this stuff is super pliable. Like you
Whoa,
can just
yeah.
mold it in your hands. But
Yeah.
I took a short length, pulled it into a piece of into a shape of a hook there. Took my mom's sewing thread like you did there,
Nice.
and a couple feathers from a pillow that I had.
Nice.
Okay, so
Yeah.
similar story.
Bound it
Nice.
together. Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
What were we thinking? You know, we've come so
I
far.
have
Well,
no
you've
clue.
come so far. Your fly tying is amazing. You're like one of the best tyers I've ever seen.
Thank you.
How has your fly tying progressed in that 3 years? Like, have you found your fly tying grown? Like since we've had you on the show last?
Yeah, I think it probably has grown a bit. Just always experimenting with stuff. Finding shortcuts to your own tying, polishing things off, trying new patterns. Which, whether or not you're aware of it, you're always learning, right?
Mhm.
I don't know that there are too many conscious steps that I've taken to improve things, but yeah, you're always rounding things off a little further there.
So, what patterns or materials or fly tying things have you excited these days?
So I think my fly tying isn't too different from where it used to be, but I'm focusing a lot more these days on my competitive angling, and then through this time of year where I used to spend a lot of time nymphing and even centerping, I've definitely gravitated more and more toward swinging flies, and so
Yeah.
tying a lot more tubes and a lot more shanks and
Oh, cool.
things these days for
Nice.
that too.
Tubes. It's one thing I need to like dabble in.
I know.
Mhm.
I don't have a tube vise.
Me neither.
Neither do I.
Or an adapter.
Yeah,
Do you have
that's all
the
I need.
adapter?
Yeah.
I need to like hook myself up and just do it. I mean, I need to tie flies again. I haven't tied flies in like forever because my cat like eats my bucktail, but I need to do it. Tubes have always been really cool. I love tube patterns. So
Mhm.
cool, man. So cool.
Yeah.
How was you were just competing, actually. This is a side thing. I haven't gotten to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I just got back from nationals a few weeks ago. Back from Quebec. It was a great time. Really fun.
You were at Canuck?
Yeah, we're at Canuck, which
Nice.
is, if you're not familiar with it, just about halfway between Montreal and Ottawa and around Montebello.
Yeah, Montebella's so nice.
And you and your team placed. Your team placed.
We did,
right?
yeah. Our team took bronze.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
Congrats,
it's
dude.
great. Thank you.
So rad.
It was a mix of Stillwater and river
This was
fishing,
just
or
a Stillwater
just still-
competition.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the dates were just finalized for next year's nationals as well, which are going to be held in Merritt in British Columbia.
Whoa.
And I actually just confirmed my team for that a few days ago as well. So
great.
very excited for
Whoa,
that.
Fun.
Sick, man. Good
Okay,
stuff.
coming.
You saw Colin. Colin was up there too, right? Colin Huff?
Colin was there. Yeah, he took the individual gold and team gold as well.
Nice.
Wow.
Dang.
Oh yeah, he kills it up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's stomping ground, right?
Yeah.
It is, but I mean, he's also
But
just
he's
an
also
exceptional
really good.
angler.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, we had Colin on a podcast. Yeah. He was, what episode was he again? I don't know.
I don't
He
remember.
was
He was
yeah,
great.
awesome.
Yeah, he was talking about poutine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that, or I guess the better question is like, where has your competition angling affected your fly tying? Like, has it made it more utilitarian, or have you like learned things from other people that have made it more complex, or like, do you find that you evolve your patterns based on yourself or other people more?
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of questions. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I can probably
Robust.
manage them if I can remember them here.
Yeah.
I think it has made it more utilitarian than otherwise, just in the way that when you're tying for competitive fishing, you're tying for yourself for once. You're not too worried about making these things look too polished for a buyer or whatever. But you do want them to work as effectively as possible. So I think one great example of that is like back in August, we had David Arquet in town, who is 3 or 4 time gold medalist at the Worlds, one of the absolute best fly anglers on the planet today. And he came into town for a master class back in August. And if you looked into his boxes, he's very open. You could take a look at them. The patterns are very, very simple themselves, but every single one of them was identical to the last, and they're extremely cleanly tied. So, yes, they're utilitarian. Flashy flies don't necessarily catch more fish, but you do get very consistent in tying, and you get very picky about making sure that every fly is going to perform to your expectations. So that's not... I've never been too concerned about, say, durability of one of my flies. As long as they're reasonably durable, that's fine. So I'm not, piling super glue and making really, really clean heads or anything on these. But body size, tail length, the density of materials, things like that, you end up paying a lot more attention to for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you finding that, like, are you drawing inspiration from other people, Or is
Yeah.
it more like you're more about your situation? Like, oh, now
Yeah.
having fished a few competitions, I realized that I'm going to gear my tying towards a certain way.
Sure. I mean, you're always learning comp to comp for sure. I would say so. There are patterns that I've just tinkered with or been up late playing around with at the Vice that I've taken out and found to be very effective. Partially by fluke, almost, I guess you could say. But yeah, you're always in your off time sort of playing around with things. When you get to the comp itself, you're only fishing with your confidence flies at that point. That's not the time to be experimenting with anything. So once you're there, especially from teammates are a huge resource. You get to see their insights on how they would approach the same situation where you might have your own, your tried and true way of tackling a situation. They might have something completely opposite to you. And so, in that case, not just from tying, but from fishing, you'll pick up a lot.
Yeah.
And so, of course, there's certain things that I've picked up from teammates and from other competitors, and everyone's pretty generous in that community. So,
Yeah.
Are you going to just continue to tie to fish, or are you going to eventually move on to art? Because I know there's I know it sounds like a weird question, but I know there's a lot of tires that, they tie just to, sell as art. I mean, is that something that in your, in your future, do you ever look at it that way? Do you ever look at it as a, means of, art?
A means of art.
Like creative expression.
Creative expression. That's
There
better.
you go.
Thanks,
Not
Thanks,
just
Colton.
utility.
yes,
Yeah.
I mean, I have in the past too. So for my own fishing, that's how I view it.
Yeah.
Then for probably about 6-7 years now, maybe even a little longer, I've been a commercial fly tyer as well. And so in that case, you're usually not experimenting with too many things and pushing the boundaries as you suggest there.
Yeah.
It's pretty rigid in terms of what you're tying usually. But you are looking to make things very, very tidy and polished looking. And then on the flip side, on the creative side, I haven't found many opportunities to participate in this, but whenever I've noticed a fly tying competition come up, I've always really enjoyed getting my hat in the ring for those, and that's a great opportunity to get a little bit more creative and silly with things and play around with ideas that you have in the back of your head. So occasionally I do. It's not something that I find a ton of time for, but it is a very fun aspect of it as well.
Right. You're a
What's
busy
your
man.
what's your commercial fly tying career like how does that work? Like, do you tie flies a lot commercially?
I tie a good bit. I figure it's probably somewhere between 1,000 to 1,500 flies a year for people.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah.
It's a lot of flies.
I've definitely
It's a
had
lot of
higher
flies.
years than that, lower years than that. That's probably about the average.
So how did you find yourself getting into commercial fly tying?
So back in high school, it was a suggestion from my parents actually. Like, you do this a lot. Why don't you, see if you can, see if people might want to buy these things. And when I started out, they were pretty awful, and I almost feel guilty trying to pass them up. But people liked them.
Yeah.
And then got a little bit more and more into that, and then got fairly good at it. And then when got hired by Rob at the shop, it became a thing right off the bat. He suggested, since a good fly shop generally has somebody who can tie flies for customers that may not be commercially available typically.
Yeah.
What I like to do a bit of this for the shop, and so from there on, I've mainly done my tying through the shop, just on a custom order basis, and it's worked well.
Customer order base. I love that. But where can we find this? Like, is there a link on Drift? Do you have your own site?
There's mention of it on the website.
Right.
If people are looking for them, they can contact us. Frankly, I don't have 1,000 hours a week to devote to
flies,
this. And so I can't take on ridiculous amounts. We try and push most of our fly sales just through the shop on a normal commercial supplier basis. But then for those off orders, for those specialty sort of flies there, then it has been helpful in the past for sure.
The Stranger Things. Or maybe not strange, but unique.
Yeah.
Masks.
Yeah.
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 How did you? So you started tying flies commercially when you were in high school. How did you get your customers? Like, where did you find the people to buy the fly?
Yeah, so back then I was already fairly active online and knew a bunch of people, and sort of made a very basic website. Got a little bit of interest. It was very minimal for the first couple of years that I did that. Actually, you know what? Now I think about this, I started even earlier. I probably started when I was in grade 6 or 7 doing
Whoa.
this. Yeah, but those were the first couple of years where barely anything
Yeah, the
happened.
early years.
Have you
Getting
had like
in-
an IQ test or an
That's
EQ
crazy.
test? Because you're crazy.
Not in a while.
Savant, eh? Sorry to derail.
The
Okay.
early years tying flies, grade 7.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it was fun. It was
It's
good.
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, how did people find like your? Was it just word of mouth at that point?
Yeah. Once I was in high school, I took out a spot at this. I guess would be the first kind of point at which I started doing a little bit more volume and getting more customers. Was I grabbed tables at swap meets, like local,
nice.
very local community sort of tackle swaps.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
where my sales were again pretty low, but I found a couple good customers
Yeah.
who would order a bunch of flies off me on the spot. From there, I remember hanging out in fly shops when I was very young as well, long before Drift existed, and just kind of talking with shop owners and stuff. I've tied flies for a couple local shops, and then I remember there was a few customers just hanging around in those shops, conveniently enough, who picked up flies through me as well, where I had a card on hand, whatever. And then from there, it kind of steadily grew. I made relations with a couple of local guides who would refer clients to me, and then again, eventually a shop. So yeah,
It's amazing, man.
yeah, took a while to get going, but
Yeah.
it's good.
All good things.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a bit of work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the commercial fly tying thing is really, really cool. What are some of what kind of patterns people ask for?
It's a really weird mix. So in the shop, what we see a lot of the time is people going on destination trips where they'll have a list of supplies to bring for a trip given to them by the lodge or guide,
Right.
whoever they're
Yeah,
going with.
of course.
And inevitably, we'll be able to fill 95% of those lists, in the shop. But then there might be that 5% that we have to make up for them. That's part of it. Another would be, a guy buys a fly from a shop that it was a one-off that they'll never have any more of, or shop closed down, can't find it anymore, whatever it is, and they'll ask to tie it. People browse online a lot, look at flies. I'm guilty of doing that too. I
Yeah.
find it fun.
Yeah.
So
See
they'll-
what's out there. And
yeah, I had a guy call last week and tell me, okay, hop on Google and look up this fly
Yeah.
and like scroll 3 lines down, 4 across,
Yeah.
and
He
that's
couldn't
the
have
one.
sent you the
I
picture.
want. No, apparently not. He had a computer, but
a good
couldn't
point,
figure that
too.
one
That's
out.
that's a good point.
I also made sure to explain to him, like, Google search algorithms may not actually be the same.
And he's like, no,
Yeah.
no, trust me. I've seen it on the internet.
We figured it out eventually, but yeah,
Nice.
there's been some interesting requests over the years, and just some flat out weird flies too that I would never think of tying.
Name one.
Yeah.
I can't name them; they don't have names.
Yeah.
God, what do they look like?
There have been usually their takes on simple flies, but just done really weird ways.
Right.
So like there have been, I remember there's one woolly bugger pattern
I
with.
knew you were gonna say that.
Oh yeah, I mean there's
Yeah.
a million variations of those things, but with like 3 hackles wound through the body in yellow, orange, and black with like white legs, and it was
Weird.
a
Weird.
treat. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
What's the
We got it done.
What's the weirdest pattern you've been asked to make? Like, what's the strangest or have you ever tied a fly where you're like, this fly is wacky, like it's not gonna do anything?
Yeah.
What kind of fly?
But somebody caught a fish on it at one point, and now they need 10 more of them. So
What kind of do you know what kind of fish, or is that just a common story? It's like this thing worked so good.
yeah, I don't know if there's
This
one
one
that
time,
really
yeah.
stands out over the rest. There have been some off ones for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. I don't know if there's like a super wacky one. Like if I had a photo, which of course I don't, you'd say, okay, yeah, that's just flat out weird.
Here's an interesting question. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so name the flies that are created originally by a specific person. There's do me that favor, because I wouldn't know myself. But just name,
Sorry,
name,
like
name,
flies
name,
named after somebody, or
someone who built a fly,
Right.
and the first of its own, right?
Sure.
And it's named after that person. Like,
So like a wolf or something?
yeah,
Lefty's Deceiver,
Lefty,
the
I knew that
Clouser.
one.
I mean,
So-
all flies were at some point. They may not have the
exactly.
person's name in
Sex
them.
dungeon.
No. and to my point, Chris, being such an amazing fly tyer, where's the Chris? Where's the Chris fly? When's that going to come out? I mean, I would love to own an
Do those
or
guys?
use-
Well, those guys tied like Lefty's Deceiver.
Mm-hmm.
He tied that fly.
He tied that fly. He also tied that fly in, I don't even know when that fly was invented. I want to say the 60s.
60s,
or
70s,
70s, something
yeah.
like that. Now
Are
there
you
were
working-
a lot of flies around at that point,
For sure.
but it was maybe a little bit easier to come up with a semi-original idea. These days, I'm not saying that there aren't original ideas. There are, but they are much fewer and far between. And myself, I've always been a little conflicted. Of course, I've come up with flies that maybe nobody's tied before, but there are always takes on something else, and I always feel a little conflicted putting my name to them.
Right.
Absolutely, but what's the quote? Like inspiration is. I mean, listen, you're not the first. We're not the first people to make a different chair, or design.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want you to feel guilty. Chris, you're an intelligent man. You're also a dreamer. I know you've been thinking about this. I want to own and I want to fish the Chris. I want to fish the Chris. And I don't know what it's going to catch.
The Chris
but
Jack?
You got to be thinking about it.
I don't know if I'm thinking about it. I'm not ruling it out.
I won't be thinking about it.
I'm always thinking about creating new things, but it's never been my
What's the
drive.
closest?
What's the closest? Came up with kind of a cool tube a few years ago that I really did like the looks of, and it was probably way more time consuming, than to make feasible for commercial tying. But it's sort of it was a zonker with just a bunch of stages of hackle, and it just made it look really buggy and interesting. Put a disc in front of that. That was a cool one. I did a number of orders for other people on that. Never came up with a name for the thing. That was a cool one. There are a bunch of nymphs I've come up with for my own personal use. They, again, just are so simple. And simple isn't a bad thing when you're talking about tying.
It's
I mean,
not.
you take
It's
something like
actually
a
harder.
clouser.
Absolutely.
Yeah, simple works, simple catches, and like I say, simple is, well, you guys coming from an advertising world know as well as anyone that's a lot of time better than not.
Yeah.
But again, just never really. I don't know. I'm not one to take a ton of credit for one thing if I can avoid it.
Fucking humble.
I think to your point.
I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah, I don't know if we can say that either.
But no, yeah.
I think to your point, you tie things and it's like, oh yeah, that's pretty original, and then you see it later on some website,
Yeah, or some variation
some
of it.
variation of it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's so many flies.
I know.
Exactly.
I remember when I was a kid, I tied like this Matuka style with badger hackle.
Yeah.
And I was like, I invented a fly. And I was like, I don't know.
You invented
16,
the
15.
spruce, whatever it's called, the dark spruce.
Exactly. I saw it on a website, like
Yeah.
on some fly tying website in England or something. Like
Mhm.
they sells like crazy amount of flies, and I was like,
Yeah.
these bastards stole my fly because I posted it. I posted it on a fishing forum, and I was
Yeah.
like, this fly's gonna change the goddamn world. Like, this is the fly that can catch everything. It's the next woolly bugger.
Yeah.
And I was like, these guys stole my fly. I'm like, no, it was invented a long time ago.
And that's how I feel about my portfolio. I'm like, oh my God, this person stole my idea.
Yeah, I mean that's the way it goes.
Well, I will say that my biggest steelhead was on that fly you tied me.
I vaguely remember
the
this.
New Year's Eve fly.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
what
That was a
fly
great way
was
to cap
that?
off the year.
That
You'll
was a
could tell you
beautiful
about it
steer.
as well.
That's
It
a
was-
beautiful steelhead.
Yeah, it was an awesome
was
fish.
an
And
awesome
fishing,
New Year's-
and fishing behind me too.
Yep.
Oh, were you
Wow.
out that day too?
That was
Yeah, like through the same
crazy.
run.
Oh, really?
Alder comes through second and hooks this thing.
I
And
couldn't
it
even-
was,
That thing was incredible.
It was like
Sorry.
No,
New
the-
Year's Day, or was New Year's
New Year's
Eve?
Eve.
It was Eve. Yeah.
So
New Year's
Yeah,
Eve.
yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
sick.
It was sick.
that was fun.
It was fun. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was a fun morning. But more importantly, the fly was
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
I just like you were like, I don't know, you want to try this? And it just like it looked.
Yeah.
It was
It was a gentle push.
a gentle push, but you
That
just
fly
opened
hasn't
your
been
mouth. I was
doing
just
much.
like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah. Why don't you
yeah,
try
I want to
this
fish
thing?
that, and I didn't change
Mhm.
it at all day, and
Yeah.
then boom.
What kind of fly was it?
It was just like it was a tube.
Yeah.
It was a sort of a popsicle type pattern, black and blue.
Yeah,
I remember that.
With I like this. There's a product that Ice Dub makes called Creepy Crawly Ice Dub, which is a fairly stiff mylar based dubbing.
Okay. Yeah.
And for a prop material, it's just incredible to
Holds
hold
it
out
all up.
fibers. Yeah. And
Sorry.
just an orange cone head on that, and that thing was money
that's
for that day.
rad.
Nice dark day. It's perfect.
Yeah, it was it was everything. I just looked
Yeah.
at the fly. I was
Yeah.
like, that's gonna work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think to your credit, you did pick it out of my box. I don't think I just handed you this
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Okay, there you
Still,
go.
just looked at who's calling my name.
Yeah.
Mhm. It was the Aldo.
Yeah.
There you
It
go.
was, it was a tough day. Sorry to interrupt, but it was a tough day, and I was half a kilometer down, and all I hear is.
I was like, Yelma, and you were like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What the fuck's going on?
I was like,
Bill and Joe
come.
hooked up
I was
behind
like,
you.
come
Yeah, that's
take
right.
pictures.
Yeah.
Idiot.
It's a nice fish,
It was a
man.
good
Nice
fish.
fish.
Bill's
Chris
like,
landed it too.
Yeah.
It was that fish was brought to you by Chris.
Nah,
I was
Oh,
gonna
man.
say
Telling it, it's the
Oh no,
easy
but
part.
going back to, I think you touched on it really. Well, not touched on it, but you mentioned, oh, it was really great material. Do you think, which of course was a synthetic material, right? The ice stuff.
Yeah.
having worked at Drift and like just having worked at a fly shop in my teen years and like and to now just to see the different types of materials and what's available now is like it's crazy. Have you noticed a big change in the even the 3 years since you've been on this podcast, or like what kind of materials would you say there's more, or there's just more crap?
Bit of both for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've seen quite as much of a contrast as you would have, right?
Right. It's a much longer time period, but
yeah, exactly. For me, I mean, I've only been working the shop since we opened, but it's 4.5 years, and only really been in the industry in some way for the last call it 6 or 7, at least still a bit more in depth. Versus you, when how long ago were you at
I was
Drake?
16. I'm 33 now. So.
Yeah, so
yeah,
a little bit.
You're only six in.
I'm only 6.
You said
Years.
6 years.
About 6 years into, I would say, being a little bit more serious in the industry. Been tying for longer, but
Right.
when you're starting out, do you pay attention to all the different
Exactly.
dubbings on the wall?
Yeah.
So I mean,
I got it. Gotcha.
as far as I can give you an honest opinion. But yeah, there's lots of new cool stuff coming out all the time.
Yeah.
Is it what's got you excited
These days, again, I'm kind of going backwards almost, getting into just simple materials. 'Cause I do find they fish better.
Oh, really?
Well, that utilitarian kind of comment about the competition flies, I'm a firm believer that we don't really need to go further. We can, and inevitably we will, and
Because
there's a market for it. So companies are going to keep pushing
Innovating.
and rebranding.
innovating.
and-
I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you mean like you're going less away from synthetics and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And just going to more all natural, like
Or just very basic synthetics.
Yeah.
Going with a lot more, just your basic, Flashaboo, angel hair, polar fiber, craft fur, like,
Polar fiber,
your core materials
Yeah.
still, but I don't need, a million different types of flash mixed into that craft for it to work.
No, totally. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, totally.
I've never really liked synthetics on flies. It's a personal thing, because I mean, like, there's tons of synthetics that obviously fish well, but
Yeah, it depends on the application for sure. I think they've been overused on a lot of flies. Like if you're talking about like big fish flies, I'm not a huge fan of synthetics on my musky flies for the most part, because they don't give me the same kind of action that I want to see in my flies. For saltwater though, amazing. Where a lighter package is hugely beneficial with higher winds.
Right.
And when you're talking about fish that really, the flies take a beating a lot more often, they just stand up way better too. So there are
That's
times.
a really good point.
There are times when it's beneficial.
I don't see a lot of salt patterns with like natural fibers, to be honest.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
they're around,
something like
but less
clouds
so.
and deceivers
Deceivers
and
other
stuff.
than
Which are still your core, like every fly list is
staples,
always going to have those things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
'Cause they're
yeah.
very productive flies. Yeah.
Yeah, the allure of flies to me have always been that natural material. I just something about like just
Especially on
feathers and
smaller
fur.
flies.
Yeah.
Like if there's no need to drop the weight
Yeah.
element of these things, then go natural on them if you can. The one exception would be like chenille's, body materials, and flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as
Right.
far as winging materials and your more mobile parts to a fly, then for sure.
Yeah.
Now, that's more talking streamers.
Yeah.
If you're talking nymphs, I would still say with that.
Yeah.
Just the translucency and the depth
Really?
of natural materials is way, way better. Dry flies, I would say...
Synthetic, right?
No, not necessarily. There's you got to take it on a case-by-case basis, I would say, in that case.
Depends on the pattern, right? 'Cause
You
there's
take things
so
like
many-
emerger patterns, like Antron is an amazing material for, say, shucks and things, because it has the reflective qualities that you want for something like that. But as far as winging goes, I always prefer natural materials because they have a much more natural imprint on the water.
Right.
So
Yeah.
case by case. in
Case
that
by case, yeah. Okay.
Case by case. Yeah, because when you think about it, like those patterns we're using in Texas, those were all synthetic. for the most part.
Exactly. That's what.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I was thinking, because I don't have a lot of salt experience.
Right.
I see them in magazines. I'm like, oh yeah, it's all just synthetic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why, like you just said,
You're dropping the
weight,
weight.
things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's like not even a utility thing when I talk about it, because I'm just mean from like that's why I like the Lady Caroline so much, because it's just such a beautiful looking fly, natural fibers.
It
It's
is
just so cool
beautiful.
looking, you know.
Yeah.
But I also love temple dogs, and
Yeah.
I love temple dogs. That's what I actually catch all my steelhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Temple
They
dogs,
fish
yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's that profile, right?
Well, I think so for my steelhead, I fish a lot of popsicles, like what you were fishing the other day.
Right.
With the marabou, but hair wings like those, like Scandi style hair wings,
Yeah.
have done really well. I don't really tie with Temple Dog at all, but with other wing and fibers. Yeah, that style I think is just so little fished by steelhead anglers that it gives fish, even if it's the same general profile and color palette, it's the different presentation overall. It definitely does.
Kind of stands out, right?
It might be a confidence thing for me, but I feel like it produces
Totally.
better.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's total confidence thing for me.
Yeah.
Because when I have it on there, I'm just like, oh, I know this is. I just feel good, you know. It's just like when you saw that fly last year, like, oh, this is totally gonna. And then, you know. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick second here to talk about something really special in downtown Toronto, a slice of heaven, if you will. It's packed full of fly fishing gear, tying materials, clothing, hats, bags, and more. Drift Outfitters Fly Shop at 199 Queen Street East in Toronto, Ontario is our SoFly official fly shop. Rob and the guys down at the shop have you covered for all your fly fishy needs, whether that means taking a trip to Northern Ontario or instead heading on a massive journey to the heart of Africa to fish tigerfish on the Zambezi. Drift Outfitters has got you covered. Stop by the shop at 199 Queen Street East in Toronto or visit them online at driftoutfitters.com to take advantage of their online store and free shipping on Canadian orders over $100. Like, so I just assume that fly tying innovation isn't moving at the same speed as fly fishing innovation. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I see fly fishing picking up, like, lately, everybody's talking about like grain weights when it comes to fly line. I don't know if that's like a new thing, but it feels like it's a new thing to me.
It's ancient. Like as soon as they designed weights for fly rods, they designed grain weights.
Exactly, yeah. But I just feel like everybody's talking about it a lot more lately.
Well, they're understanding it more.
Exactly. But that's what I mean. Like fly fishing seems to always be innovating on itself. Is fly tying kind of the same thing?
Yeah. In terms of new products coming out, sure. In terms of actual steps being taken, I think the fly fishing side is actually progressing a lot faster than the tying side.
Yeah.
In terms of what works and doesn't work and
makes sense, I guess.
Actual benefits.
Rods, reels, lines, everything can change.
Yeah.
But fly tying, yeah.
Yeah, tying, it's mostly materials based, and then there are some notable tyers in the industry that are definitely really pushing things. But again, everything is sort of based on old concepts, and again, like comparing, the fanciest intruder versus a piece of marabou on a hook, they fish relatively similarly, and you still catch a lot of steelhead on both end of the day. So I think that in terms of the actual benefits noticed, fishing is advancing a lot quicker. The thing you mentioned about grain weights, I mean, that's not new at all. The North American market has been so, and not market, but the community of fly anglers in North America has always, in my mind at least, been a little behind the European market, for sure. The Europeans have always measured things in grains and grams. It wasn't.
It was a conditioning thing here, right?
Yeah, for us it was just an easier to digest system of line weights. And the other thing is that you find a lot more guys picking up two-handed setups and space setups where things are most commonly noted in grains versus weights. So you might just be noticing that side of the sport picking up a lot more.
Totally.
And you notice that because it used to be more of a salmon steelhead thing with the rise of trout spay, with OPST heads taking over the single-handed market, all that sort of thing. It's creeping into other elements of the sport where it hadn't before. So I think that's becoming a little bit more widely realized. But yeah, the fly fishing side of things is progressing extremely quickly. In terms of lines and what we can do with lines, in terms of densities and making things more consistent, longer lasting, and to really fit every possible niche within the market, as you guys talked about Simon Gosworth. Rods, there aren't really new materials being released with the graphite, but the resins that companies are now going with, because they've sort of pushed graphite almost as far as they could have. The resins are doing huge things, making rods way lighter, more responsive, which does ultimately provide a benefit to the angler. Is a lot more concrete steps being taken there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I noticed with fly fishing in general. Like, there's always some kind of, whether you're talking to guides, you're reading in magazines, you're looking online, it's like there's always something that we're innovating on. I mean, why not? There you can, I mean, I think that's just the way, like you say, the industry goes, because they have to do something. In order to, keep innovating products and stuff like that. But I was always like, why isn't fly? But I mean, because if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing, I guess, right?
Yeah.
With fly tying.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last, I would say, big shift was tubes. Like, that was a major change. Would you say?
Yeah, it didn't again affect every.
But it didn't affect exactly.
That's the last
Right,
one I
it-
remember too. Being at Flip Panel Fly
like a big trend
when
let's
tubes
say.
came in. Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
whoa, tubes are the thing. And
Yeah.
then we sold like
But-
tube vices and like the attachments, and everybody was
Sure.
like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna tie tubes for bass. I'm gonna tie tubes for bike, and everybody went tube nuts for like a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then tubes were just part of it then. And
Mhm.
it kind of went away.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're like
know.
they found where they should be.
Yeah.
in a
Same
way.
with double handed. I remember when like switch rods came out. It was just like everybody was like, fish switch rod, like use a switch rod, like they're great for whatever. And it was just like this big trend. I mean,
Yeah.
double handed rods in general. You know, I remember when that happened. Like, I remember Flow Panel Fly getting switch rods, and it was just like, just there always those. It's funny how there's these trends in,
Mhm.
in
There
fly
always
fishing.
are.
Yeah.
And these days, I'd say it's trout spay and Euro nymphing.
Yeah. Yeah. Euro nymphing is like I've been hearing a lot about that more. Than
Thanks, Aldo.
I have this
for introducing us.
suspicion.
Well,
Yeah.
it was like Chris.
That was Chris. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, Chris, for introducing us.
Well, I think
down.
I think it was Aldo
was
that
like-
introduced you guys.
Yeah.
Trickle
Yeah.
down
Then I
from
was
our
the one-
boy.
It was
whatever.
it was trickled down from Chris.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I fished one day with Chris. I was like, well, I'm just gonna buy that rod. You know? I was like,
Well, it's so effective, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we're going
And
down
so-
so many avenues, but like, you know,
Yeah, I think with those other fads that you mentioned,
Yeah.
so I think tube flies fish better than single hook flies for what they're intended for salmon, steelhead, and things
Right.
like that. But they were a little too complex for people to understand a lot of the time, and the benefits were smaller.
Yeah.
Switch rods were misbranded for a long time. They're short spay rods. They aren't long single handers. So again, it wasn't this huge benefit that the industry was pushing. So again, they found their place. Glass rods were a nostalgic thing. Again, they sort of faded
Yeah.
out. I think trout spay, as fun as it is, might kind of fade out as well. Euro nymphing, I think, is a little more unique in the way that as soon as people pick up these rods, they start catching more fish. And
yeah,
it,
the reward is so quick.
it's so instant and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
noticeable
Yeah.
that I think you'll see it stick around a little longer than the rest of them.
Especially because like
As a trend, obviously,
Yeah.
it'll continue on no matter what.
for sure. Yeah, as a trend. Yeah.
not even that. Yeah, and even that like that changed fly design for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tie my fly like my nymphs radically different now. Okay, maybe not radically, but like they my approach to tying my nymphs is way different.
Yeah.
Way more simple.
Mm-hmm.
Way less material.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking. I'm almost not even thinking what they look like. It's more like how are they going to sink?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
What classification of in Euro nymphing? What is the
Mhm.
fly where it's like? Is it check where you weave the floss and you make like that ribbed?
That's
you
just
know-
a woven body fly.
man.
For me, yeah. So the Czech nymphing, Polish nymphing, they're short line techniques.
Yeah.
I think Polish nymphs are a little bit more commonly woven bodies. Maybe if you want to call them that. I don't really know anyone who still calls them by Czech nymphs, Polish nymphs, whatever. They're just nymphs.
Just nymphs, yeah.
But
Polish woven. Yeah. I'm just looking it
yeah,
up right now.
yeah, for myself, the name refers more to the technique than it does the fly, for one, for sure.
Yeah.
But then the flies, in terms of sizes and weights, might lend themselves to specific aspects of that a little bit more than others. So
Yeah.
you take Czech and Polish, you can kind of group into short line techniques. Spanish and French, you can kind of group into long line techniques.
Yeah.
Short line is you're generally using it might be one fly, might be a couple flies, but very heavy flies,
yeah.
and you're fishing close to yourself, and it's a productive technique for heavy flows.
Yeah.
But then if you get into slower water, like what we have on the Grand, where fish might be a little more spooky, they're in shallower water, slower water, where if you were to try and get that close to a fish, you'd spook it, and if you tried to fish that heavy, you would just be dragging bottom. That's where long line techniques and smaller flies, lighter flies come into play, and lighter lines generally. So if you have a size 8, giant nymph pattern with a 4 mil bead on it, you're not going to really be delicately presenting that thing at range. It's going to be more suited toward that short line technique where you're fishing quite close to yourself. Those lighter, smaller flies typically easier to cast at range and present nicely and control at range too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting a DVD from somebody. Do you remember that guy?
Oliver Edwards.
It might have been Oliver Edwards. Remember what's his face? He used to go to Green Drake as well. Glasses. He would
Oh,
wear
Cam?
No, he wore a bucket hat. Not Cam, the tire.
Oh, Al.
Alan gave me a DVD of like Euro nymphing.
Okay.
And in there they were tying fly, like the Polish
Yeah,
woven with
sure.
the floss. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So I tied
Yeah.
one up and I went to upstate New York and I was like, there's no way this is gonna work. I'm like, I'm catching fish 4 feet from me. What?
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Worked so well. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, upstate's great, but
Yeah.
At the same, like what I'm getting at is sort of
yeah.
the pattern they had on the end of the line didn't matter. Is the technique that you're employing, right?
Mhm.
The woven bodies are cool. Like they look neat.
Totally,
I think they're too much
novelty.
work for what you're getting.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a total novelty
yeah.
thing.
yeah.
I was like, that's cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, you can accomplish the same thing with very different techniques, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Those Polish people were pretty bored, I guess. They were like, well, we cracked it. Now what can we do?
Yeah, you're talking to one, so. Watch.
Oh, shit.
I'm bored as fuck.
But yeah,
How do you pronounce your last name again, Chris?
Chris Jack.
Chris Jack?
Mm-hmm. Chris Jack.
Whoa. I've never known that. That's so cool. Chris Jack.
Chris,
Crazy.
Dzień dobry.
What?
I don't speak a word,
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
yeah. Have
What
fun
did you
talking
just
to
say?
yourself.
Was that Polish?
Yeah, it's Polish.
Are you sure?
sure?
Yes.
As a person with Polish relatives, I'll say it sounded Polish.
Sounded right? Okay, good. You know, I'm a Factor Fishy.
Yeah, sure. We can
do
do
it.
factor figure. How do you want to introduce it? I mean, it's a big thing, right? So
Well, we haven't done it in a few episodes, so
Welcome back to
welcome
Factor
back
Fishy.
to Factor Fishy. This is where Yilma reads a couple stories to us, and we have to figure out if they're fact or fishy,
Yeah.
aka truth or false.
Yeah.
And he's trying to stump us. That's what he's trying to do.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Aldo couldn't have explained it any better than that.
Chris,
So-
we'll let you guess first if it's Factor Fishy, and
Yeah.
then we'll just, me and Aldo, we'll see if we agree. And
All right.
All right.
Exactly. All right.
Let's
So
hear
I
it.
got 3 here for you.
Okay.
Okay.
My favorite part of this was Yilma's narrations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to stump you even more, I wrote them all myself. Grammar could be a problem.
they're all fishy.
pauses.
They're all fishy.
So then they're all fake?
No, I mean like I rewrote. Okay, well,
Okay.
Took a real.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
You
You
wrote them in your own
analyze
words.
it.
Okay.
You
yeah,
wrote
thank
them.
you.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
you're a fucking. I love Chris. So he's smart,
Hey, he's great.
He's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, he's great.
Okay.
I'm agreeable.
And you know what? The funny thing is with all these, I have 3 here. With I've
Okay.
given them titles.
Sure.
Just kind of bring an idea towards them. Like it's
Yeah.
very, very nice stuff. Okay, so the first one I'm calling the slip. Okay.
Oh, God.
God, I don't want to know where this is going. Good Lord. Okay.
Can you rename that? man?
Really reluctantly saying, okay, let's see what this is about.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
So this one's called the slip. A fisherman was at the end of the dock as he hooked up with a nice bass. Man, my grammar is off the chain.
Okay.
Okay, so the line snapped halfway up as he was about to bring the bass in. So he's about to bring the bass in.
Uh-huh.
The line breaks. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so that means, if you can visualize this, the lure. I mean, this is not fly fishing related. It's just
Sure,
fishing.
Yeah,
okay?
sure, yeah.
The
yeah.
lure's in the bass mouth. Okay, and
Okay.
then there's a big string of line that's sticking out.
Right.
Okay. This gentleman or female, because I want to stump you guys.
Does that play into the
has-
stumping? Like if it was a story, I think they might say. But okay,
Yeah.
you go
my
on.
God, here we go. Okay, he, with his or her great reflexes, takes one of the reeds, right? The little, what's that called? Little fucking thing that the
Like
line
the
goes
weeds? Oh,
Could be a read.
a guide?
through. Yeah, guide.
Oh,
Takes
okay.
the tip. One of the guides. The tip.
What do you mean the reed?
What the fuck?
He was
Well,
fishing with a clarinet.
Here's the thing. Like I've had a couple 40 creeks. Okay, so he takes
Sure.
one of the guides from from his rod, from the
Right.
tip of his rod,
Uh-huh.
wraps it around one of the hooks from the lure, and brings the fish up. Factor fishy.
So read the
Okay,
story
so,
again.
No.
Like
Can I
quickly.
Cole's note it here?
Yeah.
So basically, he's bringing a fish in. Oh, sorry, this non-gender specific angler is bringing this fish in. The line snaps. They can still see the fish in the water. They take the tip of the rod. They hook the lure with the tip of the rod, and they bring
Yes.
the fish up.
Absolutely, man. You are an articulate.
Fishy.
I just it sounds.
Wait, Chris has to guess first. Come on.
Yeah, that was
yeah,
me.
that was Chris.
Oh.
Thanks for all the comments.
So Chris,
You were looking at Mitch. His mouth couldn't move, and you're like, "Let Chris be."
Yeah, what are you hitting my shot? I
Okay,
didn't say
hold
anything.
on.
What?
Factor fishy.
I'm trying to read your face. I think it's fishy.
It's fishy for sure.
I'm going to say it's fact, and I'm going to say he probably got the story wrong. Like there's something missing, but this sounds like, yeah, maybe.
So to the audience out there, Mitch is half right.
See? He got it wrong.
No.
It's missing details.
It is fact. I saw it on Instagram. A guy snapped the the line snapped, he took his rod and he wrapped it around the fucking lure and brought the fish up. It was incredible.
How is it a half truth though?
His
Because he
line?
said I didn't get the story right, and that was the story. The story was right.
So I'm like more right. So it's like so I'm right and then some,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
yeah.
So wait,
So that's fact. I'll send you guys the actual gram.
He broke his line and he used his line to wrap around.
He used his rod to wrap around the lure and bring it up.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Alright.
weirdly weird.
I don't know.
Sure.
I know.
Do you mean they wrapped around the lure, or you wrapped around the line? That
No,
you could see?
the tip of the guide wrapped around like the hook of the. I'll show you.
I
I'll
guess
send
it was
you.
hanging around the dog. I don't know.
I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, it was really like it was quick thinking. It was incredible. I was like,
So why is it
"What?"
called the slip? Why is that called? Why'd you title it the slip?
That's a good question.
The fish
This one's
did
called-
not get away.
Okay,
The
listen, guys,
slip.
back on track. We got 3 of these. Okay.
That's
All right,
so
second
whack.
fact of fishy. This one I'm calling. God, I can't tell you the title actually because it'll give away the fucking. Okay, no, man. It's the tooth.
Okay.
Anyways, okay, so
Maybe we should stop this segment.
really,
I'm kidding.
Okay.
That's
I worked
funny.
hard on these.
It's very funny.
Okay, a fisherman off the coast of Mexico was fishing for snook. What are you doing? Why is this?
His rod broke, and he used the tip of it to cook the lure. Okay, keep going. Take us through it. Go.
All right, cool. Okay, so a fisherman off the coast of Mexico was fishing for snook when he hooked into something. He thought it was a log, okay, because when you catch something that's still in the water, it's a log or a tire or something kind of weird like that. He always thought it was a log, but it ended up being a clam, or so he thought. He looked a little closer.
That's a
As
second
he-
or so he thought.
It ended
This
up
is my
being-
writing, okay?
It ended up being a clam.
As
Or
he,
so he thought.
as he tried getting it off his hook, to his surprise, was a huge shark tooth. Okay, he took it in. So a week later, took it in, forensics, whatever. He brought it into the peeps. Okay,
Forensics.
because he wanted to know. He's like, I don't recognize this tooth. It's a shark tooth, but it's huge. Like, what the fuck is this?
Okay.
A couple months later,
Mm-hmm.
they came back with the results.
For the forensic team.
The forensic team.
Yeah.
It was a megalodon tooth. Fact of fishing.
What's a
A
megalodon?
megalodon is a prehistoric great white shark.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so Aldo, what? Decipher that.
Right. Yeah.
Wait. I thought it was.
No,
No,
I
Cole's
wait,
notes.
oh.
All those notes. All those notes.
I speak Yelma here. So basically, this guy was in Mexico fishing for snook, I guess, and then he hooked into something. Who he thought it was a log, and then he thought it was a clam, but it actually turned out to be a shark tooth. So then he took it to CSI, and he had to wait a few months. But the CSI team came back with the DNA sample, and it was a megalodon, which is a shark from a movie or something.
I will say that Yilma putting it in his own words does make it harder. Because if this is true, like he did a really good job of like making it there's speculation,
Yeah.
He thought it was a log. He
Exactly.
thought it was a clam. Oh, no, I'm just hooked on a log. Wait a second. No, it's just a clam.
It's a shark
It's a
tooth.
shark tooth.
It's a shark
Well, this
tooth.
is.
There's a
this-
lemon behind that
Hey,
rock.
There's a lemon behind
Exactly.
that
There's,
rock.
there's a method to my madness here with these fact of fishes.
There's just
Okay.
madness. I'm gonna. Oh right, sorry, Chris. What are
Chris
you
first.
thinking?
I saw Yilma grinning and enjoying Mitch's explanation of why this true story sounded so much like Yilma, way too much. So I'm going to go again, fishy.
Nice.
Fishy.
You said megalodon, right? Fact.
Why are you going? No, it's fishy. It's fishy
Ah,
as fuck.
okay.
Megalodon's like from Sharknado or
I
something.
know, but,
man.
like,
I thought they're real, I think, as far as I know.
Yeah, they're real.
I don't imagine that you just casually find a megalodon skeleton that close to
Exactly, yeah. But
Yeah.
that's why I was going to be like, wow, that's crazy, Yilma. Because like, I also am more blown away that Yilma knew megalodon.
Are you kidding me? I'm always on Blue Planet.
Wait a
Oh,
minute.
yeah?
Wait a minute. Can you wait a minute? What was the title of that again?
the tooth.
The tooth.
Oh, okay.
It's the tooth.
Well, at least it's fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's how you know it was fake.
Yeah.
What's the story about? Oh, tooth or clam? I
What's
guess.
the next title, Mafral?
This one's called Fish Gold.
Oh, not the fish gold?
The Facebook. Okay, a guy in Houston. Okay, so a guy caught a 10H reef shark with his bare hands. Tosses it into his cooler.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Later, when he opens the cooler, he finds the fish that he caught coughed up a gold watch, wrist watch to be exact. And the funny thing is that
So wait a minute.
wait, not done the story. The wristwatch still ticking. Back to fishing.
Batteries were still
Okay. So let's try to. So there's this guy. He's where exactly? It doesn't matter. He's somewhere, and he catches a reef shark. 10 inches, right?
No,
You said a
I
10
didn't
inch.
say reef shark. Reef fish. Wait, hold on. Let me read it.
Said shark.
He
yeah.
said
Definitely
shark.
said
You said
shark.
reef.
Oh, reef
100%.
fish. Reef
Okay.
fish.
Oh, okay. So he's
So he catches a 10-inch fish in the ocean. I'm
In
assuming.
the ocean. Yeah.
Right.
With his hands.
With his hands. With his hands, Yilma.
Well, let me read this again. Hold on, folks. Yes,
So his
bare
watch
hands.
fell off into the cooler. Is that what you're saying? But
yeah.
yeah. So so this guy, he catches a 10-inch fish with
Yep.
his hand,
Mhm.
and then he puts it in his cooler, and he's like, "Great, I have dinner, ceviche, delicious, I can't wait." And then he finishes his day. He opens up the cooler only to find that this 10-inch fish has coughed up a wristwatch.
Yeah.
Do you know how big 10 inches is?
Yeah.
Don't be gross with
okay.
that answer.
I'm not being gross.
You,
It's-
you did say just the watch. Like there was no hand attached to the watch.
Just
Okay.
to watch.
Okay, well, maybe then.
That'd be
Sure.
so cool.
I like
Okay.
there are 10-inch fish that I could conceivably see eating something that large.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
for sure.
Like a snapper?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Snapper
yeah.
don't have huge
yeah.
mouths, but yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
potentially.
know.
Yeah.
A snook. 10-inch snook. It's a small snook.
Yeah.
I feel like this would be a good slow news day story for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so you're thinking fact.
Oh,
I might be.
shit.
Well, because I was gonna write it off when he flipped from shark to fish, but he was also just talking about sharks a lot.
That's
So
right.
maybe it was.
I mean, I
just-
guess the thing with this
maybe it
is
was just a slip.
oh. Maybe it was the slip.
That was the slip. Yeah.
The thing with this is he could do all fishy. He could.
Uh huh.
I mean, we're always like, why
But
would
he
you do
already
all
did.
But there's
fishy?
been a fact and a.
But there's
fishy.
been a fact.
Oh
of
yeah,
fishing.
that's right. Well, a half fact.
No, it was a fact. It was just
Okay, that's true. Okay, never mind. So you're saying fact.
I'm gonna go fact.
I'm gonna go fact, but I'm pretty sure it's just the guy's wristwatch from hand
Probably.
from hand catching a fish.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say fishy, just because they're saying fact and there's
Yeah.
nothing to lose or win.
that's amazing. It was fact. I saw it I read it on the blog. He could have been lying, but fuck.
What blog?
So what's like the what else?
I'll
A
send you the
really
blog. I
lame
have
one
the
that's
actual
not
link.
worth our time reading.
Is there? Yeah. Is there any more info behind this story?
yeah.
Yeah, there's a link to.
Were there
Then
pictures?
I clicked to the link. Yeah, I clicked to the link that had the pictures and everything. That, but then it was
What did you search?
404. Here, I'll email it to you.
Some real good citations there.
That's a crazy story. There's a lot of questions behind that story. I mean,
yeah.
but that's. I mean,
Well, that's been that
fact or fishy.
fact or fishy.
Didn't he say it? Oh yeah, that was 3 total, not
was
3
3.
more.
That's
after
a link.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 total.
So 3 total. We got 2 facts and a fishy. So there you go, guys. I love this segment.
ifish.net. I mean the pun. Oh my God! Look at this site. The title. I've heard some unbelievable fishing stories before, but a guy caught a 10-inch reef fish with his bare hands. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, that is still. Oh, that's a great. That's a little. You missed a little tidbit here.
Oh, what is it?
The
What is
watch was working and had the correct time.
No, I said that the watch. Is it making up?
He did say that
Yeah.
it was
It
still
says
working.
ticking.
It was
Still
ticking.
Did
I want to
not
give a
say
little bit of.
correct time.
Yeah,
Correct
I didn't want to
time.
read it exactly.
Is there any info about like what the kind of watch was? Was it a good watch? Was it like a Rolex?
Yeah, this
No,
thing
it
must have
doesn't
been weighty
say.
for the fish to pick
Yeah.
up too, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Then
doesn't.
a lot of reef fish do like munch on coral and
Yeah.
shellfish and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
They're used to
maybe
picking
it's
stuff
just,
up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It could have been like a diver's watch too, right? You don't know.
Oh, yeah,
'Cause I mean,
probably.
yeah. Oh, that'd have to be because
Kind
it's
of crazy,
ticking.
eh? Good factor, Fishy Yelma. Thank you so much for putting that together. That was amazing.
Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, everybody at home, thanks for listening.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. We're not doing Mishy Fishies.
Chris
Oh, I've
did
already
Mitch's
done it.
Chris
Fishies.
already did
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's right. That's right.
Well, we want to give shout out to our sponsors and do all that kind of jazz and
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Well, any parting words, Chris?
Yeah.
Any parting word, like
Any thoughts you want to leave
any
people with?
thoughts you want to leave people with? We usually do that as well.
Round 2 on the SoFly podcast, we covered a little bit of fly tying, a little bit of innovation, where the industry's headed, some commercial fly tying talk, a little bit about competition. We talked about some steel. We touched on some steelhead memories. We went all over the place with the show. It was
Pretty
great.
good range. Yeah.
What do you want to do? Is there something you want to leave people with?
Keep them wet.
I mean, good. That's and he leaves. He's walking up the door. He's getting in his car. Chris, my God.
Jesus Christ, he drives a Ferrari? How many flies is he tying?
Sick. Look at all those flies coming out of the thing.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Keep them wet. Yeah.
Keep
no,
going.
I like
yeah.
it.
Good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Although, yeah, where can people find?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can find all of our stuff at SoFly.ca. You can find us on Instagram at the SoFly Crew. If you'd like to get in touch with us, comments, concerns, guests, suggestions, any feedback, or if you just want to, we get a lot of random questions too, which actually Mitch and I really enjoy responding to.
Yeah.
Whether they be for like fishing advice or podcast advice, I don't know. The SoFlyCrew@gmail.com. And that's it for me, Aldo. So thank you.
Rate us.
Oh yeah, sorry.
People
yeah,
have been
rate
doing
us.
that. People have been rating
Rate
us on
us.
iTunes, and it actually helps a
Rate
lot.
us.
It helps a lot.
Yeah.
It helps us a lot in weird, in crazy algorithmic ways. So
Yeah.
just please hit us up on iTunes and just give us a little
Can
rating.
you rate
'cause
on Spotify?
I don't think you can. But send us, and if you can want to leave a little message for us, we read them. We love them.
Yeah, we read all our messages pretty quick
thanks,
actually,
guys.
because I don't know,
Yeah.
we hate our jobs.
Yeah,
So
we love it. We love it.
yeah.
So yes,
But that's it for me, Aldo. So yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for coming on. It was nice.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah,
It was
of
fun.
course. Yeah.
absolutely. And next time we're gonna have a show about what's coming out on the 15th again. We're gonna do like kind of
The 15th is going to be actually Ian Martin, who's
Yeah.
a
Oh, that's gonna be
it's
good.
gonna be good.
Yeah.
He's a biologist on the Grand. I stayed at his cabin in
Whoa,
Gaspé, which was kind of cool. Not with him, but
that was his cabin.
that was his cabin. When I was,
Cool.
but Ian literally wrote the book, on
Yeah.
fishing the Grand River.
Mhm.
So we'll talk a little bit about that book and kind of the Grand River, because we've talked a lot about the Credit River on this show, but
Yep.
we fish the Grand a lot, especially Mitchie. That's probably your favorite steelhead river.
Yeah, I like the Grand a
Yeah.
lot.
So I mean,
Beautiful
like
river.
we haven't really focused a whole lot, and that's definitely a
Yep.
huge fishery that we all enjoy. So that's
100%.
going to be the first little foray into focusing a little bit more on the Grand.
Excited for
Yeah.
that.
So I'm
It's gonna
excited
be
about
good.
that. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening at home. Chris, thanks again for coming on the show again. Love having you on. Yilma, well, that's it for me. Mitch, Yilma, what's going on?
Hey, I'll see you next time.
Hold on.
Or listen to you next time. Or can we do that again?
No, that's good.
No,
Bye.
that's good.